Hi. I'd like to say that, excuse me if I will just talk too fast. I drank like 8 coffees today to make it here. So yeah, just a heads up. So hello, my name is Kamil Ogo. I work for X-Team. We are a company distributed across the whole world. We don't have an office. Everyone works remotely. And recently we opened something called X Labs, which is a fund for anyone who's interested in like creating new opportunities in open source. If you have an idea, especially if you like to create something that will help remote developers in their job, in making their life easier, let us know. We can make this happen somehow. Today I will talk about Ampersand. Ampersand is called by some people Backbone 2.0. I hope that most of you know what is Backbone. If not, it's a small MVC framework, just a real basic stuff that creates some base for your more complex projects. Ampersand is called by a company called Endiet. I'm not working there, but they created it basically. So they need us. They really love Backbone, but they also are a company that use plenty of Node, especially they are taking care of Node security. So they are all used to the same workflow, like using Browserify if you're working on the browser, CommonJS modules, and so on. And Backbone to these days is not CommonJS. You can use it currently, but still it's one huge package. And a few months ago, I joined them as a first core contributor. But we have plenty of other people, and the whole project is open sourced, so everyone is really like, we'd appreciate any new inputs. So the whole talk will be split into two parts. One is just a basic overview of Ampersand itself, and the second one is about our philosophy and how we make things our own way. And if you'll have enough time, I will show you small live coding. So Ampersand is, as it said before, it's basically a backbone on drugs. Like everything has its own life there. So the first thing is ampersand-state. Ampersand-state is a basic module for everything. Everything inherits from ampersand-state. As you know, JavaScript is great object-oriented programming language, as we heard today. And this basic ampersand-state. It has properties, session properties, and derivatives. In Backbone, you have only properties, and properties can be set on the model, because in Ampersand it's called in Backbone it's called model. And here you have two additional things. So session is just an object that takes all the properties that shouldn't be passed to a server. For example, if you do to JSON a function, or for example, serialize your data. And derivatives are functions that are dependent on some other things. As you can see here, there is a full name derivative that takes first name and last name. And if any of those change, it will be notified and it will change itself internally. And another thing is that all properties in Ampersand are registered before. Like you can see, first name and last name, they are both strings, so it makes them strongly typed. You cannot set first name to integer or an array. You can also block any other attributes if you want. It's up to you. But what it gives us is, because Ampersand is only for modern browsers currently, there are no IE8 or something like this, and we make use of object-defined property from ES5. You don't have to use any getters, setters, or something like this. You can just save value straight to a property, and because it's registered internally, all the events will be triggered anyway. Models are one thing to note here is that Ampersand is made of really, really small modules, which in the end create something bigger. But you don't have to use anything from our stack. You can create your own, and it will work as well. So models are made of ampersand-state, which I already talked about, and ampersand-sync, which is a mixin, which adds functionality to talk with the server. I'll talk about mixins just in a moment. Collections are just an arrays or objects of different models or states, just like a package for everything. But like I guess no other frameworks, we have some more things, some additions. We have subcollections, which is the same as collection, but you have already predefined filters. You can say, for example, that I have a dogs collection and I want only awesome dogs. So I say that my filter is type of dog will be awesome, and it will just filter through all of collections. It's made of collection and underscore mixin, which allows you to use those filters, which is code present here. And also, additional thing is that if anything in parent collection changes, it will be also changed in your subcollection. So they are linked together. You can change comparators, add filters, remove filters. It's up to you. And REST collection. REST collection is basically exactly the same as Backbone. So it's collection with additional mixins, which are free here. There is underscore mixin, REST mixin, and basic collection. Views for displaying your data for user. There are no only one specific type of view. There are plenty. I guess 8 we will see. So ampersand view is made of state, because as I said, everything is made of state. Because we want to emit and listen for events on everything, every kind of object. It's made of collection view just for rendering, just lists if you want, and ampersand-dom-bindings, which I'll talk about in a moment, because I guess this is the best part of the whole library. And this is basic ampersand view. You have bindings, events, and you can just basically add any functionality to this as in for example, Backbone. But here's note that templates are just strings. You don't have to parse anything or something like this. So cool thing here is that you don't need to create just-in-time templates or pre-process them to gain performance improvements. Collection view is for rendering collections as a list. If you pass a whole collection, view switcher are for creating regions which can then programmatically change. For example, create a main content view switcher, and then you can just close this view, change what's inside of it. You can also create custom animations for showing the content itself, for hiding it, and any other things that you want to change. For example, scroll to the top of the page. Form view. Forms are really like pain in the butt if you want to do them correctly. What we do is create one global view, sorry, not global, one common view for a whole form, and we specify all the fields that you want to have inside of them. And what it gives us is that we can validate all the fields that we previously listed here, just without any additional code. It's all already boiled in there. And there are a few types of views for form views. Input view, array input view, which is for creating list of input views. For example, if you have let's say application with the shipping for a shipping company, you can add a few shipping costs. Select view for creating selects, and checkboxes for checkboxes. And the best part of the ampersand, which I think is the best, is ampersand-dom-bindings. So DOM-bindings are, if you ever work with Angular, Angular is has two-way data bindings. So you just bind places, you just type the places in the templates where the data should be bound, and it will just magically display there, like this, just by typing, for example, brackets or ng-model or something like this. In Backbone, on the other hand, you had to explicitly say using underscore templates or handlebars or Jade or something like this. For example, bracket first name or bracket last name, and it will have to recompile every time something changes, if you listen for a change, of course. We're here using those bindings. We say we specify every small detail of our templates. For example, classes, texts, and if any of those things changes, for example, if you have a first name on a model, and we explicitly say that a specific hook, I will explain in a moment what's hook, that specific hook should be placed here in the DOM, it won't recompile the whole view. It will just traverse the DOM, take this small text node, and it will change this. It's kind of like React thing, but React keeps the virtual DOM, we don't. And we use hooks for this. I'm not sure whether I have it here. It should be in a view. Yeah, here. Okay, so there are bindings. We explicitly say that model.name is type of text, and it will be hooked by a name. And you can see up there, there is data hook, which is named exactly the same, and they will be linked right now. So we had a small issue recently that we didn't use hook previously. We had a role attribute, but because roles are using for accessibility, we had to change everything. We had a few different ideas like data.js, data hook, data bind, data action, using rel attributes, name attributes, classes. And after a few weeks, we came to a conclusion that data hook are the best choices. Is the best choice. There are a few types of bindings. You can set the text of the. It will be set the same value as the model, class, attribute, value, Boolean class, which is value from your model will be interpret as Boolean, and whether it's falsy of truthy, it will set your specific class. You can also specify class for yes when it's truthy, or no when it's falsy. Boolean attribute, it's exactly the same but for attributes. Toggle, which will hide or show your element based on the model value. Switch, which do exactly the same but for multiple elements. You can say that I have 3 tabs, and value of this model attribute will be determining whether which tab should be shown. And inner HTML is exactly what it says. It will set HTML. Router is pretty straightforward. I guess most of the people know about this. It will just listen for push state changes, and if it matches any of your routes, it will trigger a given function. And mixins, this is the part. Well, we already, as I said before, there was a talk about object orientation in JavaScript. What mixins do is that they can allow you to use 2 different things, completely separate, and mix them into one thing. Basically, what it do is giving you extend function on any object you want, and will keep prototype chains for any other subclasses. So we will be able to use their functions. Currently, we have 3 mixins: REST mixin, which give you the ability to talk with the server; underscore mixin; and DOM mixin. If you prefer not to use bindings, but stick to the backbone way of doing things, so using, for example, underscore templates. And React mixin, which is just an idea for now. Someone is working already on this to mix a React as a view layer. And last but not least, Ampersand CLI. It lets you generate whole application by using just one command, ampersand-gen, and it will create a whole new application with a happy or express server. It's up to you. It will generate whole API structure and so on. And from this starting point, you can generate forms, views, and collections, models. You can also, for example, send a curl to your server, to your API, get a response, and then pipe it to our generator, and it will create models based on those responses. And creating forms based on the already predefined model. So if you have a model with, for example, 5 different attributes, you can just create a form with those value already built in. And you can configure your code using ampersand-rc. Those are just basic configuration stuff like indentations, paths, and so on. So philosophy. Henrik said that optimize for change is the only constant. So I couldn't say better, because if you use, for example, any other framework, like real big framework, you are kind of vendor locked in. If anything changed there and you don't like it, you have really small way, you have like really not much to say about this. Because if it's preferred by other people, you just have to stick to this. But not here, because I know that you can fork every framework and so on, but if you have all those pieces of your framework really small, you can make those changes and keep your fork up to date with the master branch of ours, even if it changes. Because if your module have 50 lines of code, there isn't really, this shouldn't be a problem to just rebase all those changes on top of new features added. And if you keep using those modules, eventually you will find that you're doing some things over and over again. And instead of just copying your code as dry approach says, don't repeat yourself, you can create just abstraction on top of this and create separate module. And you can publish it on NPM and call it ampersand if you want. And we can either just, because we have like a catalog of all the things, of all the modules. And if it will be good and if it will be like solving some kind of problem, we'll probably just accept it and it will be on our side and everyone will be able to use it. I already skipped slide. And it's easier to learn one thing you need to know. If anyone tried to use Angular, then you should know that learning curve is pretty steep. It's really hard to know every small part of Angular itself. Where here, if you want to use only ampersand-state, you open just a source code, which is 200 lines or something like this, and in a matter of minutes, you'll have all the knowledge you will need. Everything's separate CommonJS module. We use Browserify exclusively. There is no way currently to use ampersand outside. Of course, you can create a file that will bundle everything and show and then add it to a window object. Everything's hosted on NPM. So everything you have to do is just type npm install a specific package, and you will get it. Everything's fully tested, because it's really easy to test those small things, even when they are dependent on something, because those dependencies are already pre-tested. And everything has separate Git repository, separate issues, and separate life, which let you change one module without just letting all the people know that you changed something. Because if you modify ampersand view, and modify collection view depends on this same module, because we use same versioning, it will automatically just bump its own version. And if you have one huge framework, you'll have to bump those versions over and over. You'll probably run out of servers someday, like in a few years. And the Unix philosophy, everything. Oh, damn it! It wasn't me. Yeah. So do one thing and do it well. I guess that everyone should stick to this, because there are more and more tools and frameworks that are trying to solve your problems, but in the end, they will just make you just headache. And leverage existing solutions. There is NPM, there is Bower. Really, if you if you have a really huge need for this, you can write your own tool or framework. But if there is already a solution, you should probably use it, because there are people that are trying to improve this thing. So it will be just better. There is no way to like break things if it's open sourced, let's say, because your voice will always count. So if you say something that something is wrong and people will just back up you'll be fine. This is our catalog of all the solutions we've created. And I wanted to show live demo, but I guess we don't have enough time. I guess 3 minutes. So I have already sorry, do it. Okay. Okay, I'll fail miserably. Okay, let's. I have already pre-written if something will go wrong. Okay. So what I really wanted to show here is that testing your code it's not really that hard if you want. Okay, yep. So I will bump this here. Okay, so this is a basic ampersand-state. It has two properties and two derivatives. One is based on items inside, and second one is title, which will just prevent some text. As you can see, this is a commonjs module exports. And in different frameworks or approaches, it takes really some time to set up your testing stack. Where here, because we use node approach, everything we need is tape. If you never use tape, it's written by Substack, which uses tape, and tape is test everything protocol, which is a unified way of testing things across even all languages. It's just up-to-date implementation. So tests is really simple. We'll create new card, add new items, and check whether our previous derivative, which was supposed to calculate total cost, which will just map over an items, get the items cost, then reduce everything to just get one huge number. And second test, it will just show that we can use both card.set to change properties, and we can change it directly, and object-defined property will still trigger the change. And you have two ways of running this code. One is to browserify everything, which is our test. Put it through, pipe it through tape run. And just to make things nicer, you can use tab spec. And we'll run your tests, and everything. It's done. You don't need Karma, setting up whole Karma and running Chrome and so on, Firefox. If you want to use real browsers, you just specify in package JSON browser versions you need, and Selenium not Selenium, browser link will take care of this. And if you want this to be like automatic version of this, you can just where's my mouse? Okay, here. You can just add this to your package JSON, and you have one script, which is exactly the same thing, and you can create one index test.js and then require all real tests for whole application. It will just do your thing, do the magic, because it's all run through browserify and just simple Unix pipes to do small modules I mentioned. This one will test your code. This one will show better version of results, and that's all. And if it will break, it will tell you this, and you won't be able to commit or push your code if you set up your hooks. Okay, I guess that was all. Yep. If you'd like to contribute, we have still plenty of room for both core contributors and just regular people that want to make the world better. That's all. Thank you. Okay, I'm already over time, so if you have any questions, you can just find me somewhere.